Do a live. We always do a live. That's how I get like my secondary recording if my computer fails. Or, the program fails, not my computer.
Yeah.
All right. And we'll start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, guys. And we are here for the Nemesis Project. It's been a really long time. When was the last time we did Revelations 1?
Oh man. I feel like we did it like really early this year.
Yeah, I think in like January, February area, I think.
Yeah. It was like late winter when we did it.
Yeah, but we're here for Revelations 2 now, where it's totally different from Revelations 1, story-wise and character-wise, but it still has our favorite, cast in there, which is a kind of a plus. But before we dive into anything, as far as the intro, the development of Revelations 2, Zach, how you doing?
Doing all right. I like playing this game wasn't such a big deal for me or anything, but it just seemed like there was always some kind of stumbling block for us to get to doing this.
hmm Uh, the game, we'll get into it, but the game has like good parts, but then there's parts where it drags, and the whole co-op thing with Resident Evil Zero ish type of co-op is a little annoying, but I appreciated some of the stuff that they did with the co-op characters.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, and by the way, I'm Joe Dubs. I didn't introduce myself. I introduced Zach since I said, Zach and everything. But
How
anyway,
are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I just noticed I'm wearing the same shirt that I wore for Getting Some Color. So if you watch Getting Some Color and you're watching this, no, I didn't change my shirt because these are usually my PJs when I, are in my room.
I changed my shirt, but it just looks like a black shirt anyway. So whatever.
Oh, and fair warning, we are shooting this at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and everybody is up in my house. So there might be dogs that just go wild at some point. I'll try to hit my mute button if I'm not talking. Or you might be hearing, voices in the background because my family is from New York, and we only have one setting, and it's loud uh, when we talk normal. So I do apologize in advance. But let's get into development of Revelations 2. And I also want to put this here because I didn't record any video because I was frustrated recording it because of things that I will talk about. But we're going to be using YouTube here in Gamers Little Playgrounds channel. So I'll put Gamer's Little Playgrounds channel in the description so that he gets sourced and he doesn't try to copyright me or whatever. So here we go. All right, Zach, what do you have for some development for Revelations 2?
There weren't a lot of notes about this one. It seemed to have like pretty uneventful development.
Hmm.
No major changes or cuts or anything like that, or even different versions of the game that just didn't make it. They went for like a literal episodic game this time, like where the original Revelations was doing like this pseudo TV thing, like previously on Revelations, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a full game when it released. This game initially came out and released in an episodic format like over the course of 2014. And it released physically, I think, at the end of the year, or it was like really early in 2015, one of the two. But
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. What do you call it? This was around the time I think the Walking Dead Telltale series came out, where like episodic was a big thing.
yeah,
and I think they were trying to cash on that. Personally, I think only games like Walking Dead or Game of Thrones from Telltale are able to do that episodic thing, in my opinion. There's something like Resident Evil or even Metal Gear Solid when they start to do this episodic thing, it gets a little annoying for me because I hate the whole. It takes me out of the immersion, right? Because
Yeah.
when I want to get into the Resident Evil universe, I want it to be like Resident Evil 2. I want it to be like Resident Evil 3, where I feel like I'm in this city, I'm in this haunted house, I'm in this laboratory. I don't want it to be like, all right, this is the beginning of the episode, this is the end of the episode, and then it stops. And it it takes it away from me when it becomes episodic. So that's not my cup of tea, but I know people like it for some strange reason.
Yeah, it was. I want to say like episodic games is kind of like a fad because it didn't really persist. I mean, Telltale Games like went under a few years ago, and somehow they were able to come back.
Mm-hmm.
But like nobody really talks about episodic games anymore. It was like this thing that was like kind of popular, a hot topic in the industry for like maybe 3 years, 3 or 4 years, I want to say, if that. Uh,
Well,
and
it was very controversial too because this is where you have people that try to cut corners, right? Like
yeah,
because let's try to do this episodic, but like charge it $20 and stuff, and like you get like an hour and a half like episode, and then like sometimes when game developers did do um, episodic games, sometimes the full fucking series didn't come out of episodes. So like you're stuck at episode 2 and you wait like a few years for episode 3. And I didn't like how like cuz I think Hitman games were supposed to be like episodic at some point.
they
Um
were.
but they did it in a way that they had a roadmap on when you're going to receive it. But then you had other companies that, you know, like to cheat their customer and get that easy money. So I don't know.
They now Capcom did make a roadmap, a release roadmap. They laid it all out. Like, this is when all the episodes come out, and if you don't want to do that, you can wait about a year and get the full game.
Hmm.
Um, and to me, it could have been a strategy to keep costs down while they were making this. Uh, I'm not real sure on that. I never found any kind of confirmation on that. That's just kind of like my one of my theories about why they went with it like this way.
Hmm.
Because it wasn't a handheld game like how the original one was made for DS, and they just like upscaled it and ported it, which is like not terribly expensive to do at all. This time they're building a game from scratch for consoles and PC, and it could have been a measure just to keep costs down because
Hmm.
they wanted to make these cheaper, not necessarily cheaper, but lower budget games, I guess, that were supposed to aim for like fans like us, I guess,
Hmm.
the more hardcore traditional Resident Evil fans.
Yeah.
Um, as far as I know, the same team worked on this game, and I don't know, they changed like the scene director or something, so there was no team shakeups. That more people that worked on Resident Evil 6 came over and worked on this game.
It makes sense. Like because, like I said off the air before we started doing this, is like it's has some upgrades. Like the gameplay has better upgrades from the first one.
Mhm.
And I guess because Revelations one was geared towards handheld, it had more of a clunky feeling in my opinion. This Revelations 2 still has a clunky feeling, but there's like some smooth game play in it as well. And also, we'll get to that later when we get into the meaty flesh section. But like you could tell it's from the same devs. And I played this on PC, by the way. Finished it on PC. It looks great on my graphics card that I currently have. I don't know which one it is. I just know I put the graphics card like 3 years ago. So
You don't remember your graphics card by heart
no,
with all the flops?
the flops in the 1500s, the 2000s. I don't know. It's GeForce.
I played it on PS4.
I also played it on Xbox because I'm a weirdo. I buy like every Resident Evil game on every console and PC because I'm a fan. So I have to have it on everything.
Yeah. Um, there was just a little tiny smattering of cut content, uh, which there was supposed to be like a flashback sequence involving Neil and his relationship forming early on with Claire, who's a rookie in Terra Save at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't say if it was playable or if it was just like a cutscene. Um, I guess it could have been playable, kind of like in the first game where you play as Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was possible.
I do like the extra episodes that they put in this game, though. I think they did a good thing, probably leaving Neil out, uh, because Neil's character again feels like a throwaway.
It feels very throwaway. This might have helped to make him feel less throwaway,
Mm-hmm.
but they made a conscious decision with like the amount of characters the story's really going to follow. Because somebody said in the last game there was a lot going on. You got like 3 playable parties, and really it ends up being like 4 different combinations at certain points, or even 5.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and remember that was something we said in the last recording, which is like there's a lot going on in this story. So they said like, no, it's just going to be
Simple.
Claire, Moira, Barry, Natalia, Alex, Wesker is the antagonist, and Neil's there
Mm.
occasionally.
uh,
Um,
I do want to bring up something real quick. Apparently, in the writing, they wanted to be more personable. That's why they had the Moria and Burton thing, and like, obviously, when you're fighting Neil Bane, because he looks like Bane when he gets mutated a little bit. Um, like she has to like pick up the gun and shoot, and like that emotional because obviously, spoiler alert, like she shot her. Was it her mother?
her sister,
Her sister? Um,
she found a
mother.
gun in the house and was goofing off and accidentally shot her sister.
Yeah. And that was like a big moment for her. And then obviously, like Burton was like a dick to her most of the fatherhood because he shot her sister, and like through the story, Burton like rose as a father. But that in the writing, that's what they wanted to focus on. In my opinion, listen, this is Resident Evil. I don't want too much character development into things. I want in the moment type of characters where it's written well in the moment. Like, oh my god, Leon's in the city, Claire's in the city. We
Uh oh. Uh oh. We got a technical difficulty here, I think. Oh shit. Well,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. 'Cause I I think I jinxed myself today because I was like, "Oh, man, it's Saturday, and everybody's up today." I was like, "I hope the internet, uh, does well." Anyway, what was I talking about before?
Uh, you were talking about the characterization in this game, like how they were trying to get more personal with some of the characters and stuff.
Okay. Man, am I still hold on, let me see if I'm still broadcasting. It says I am.
Okay.
Hold on.
Let's double check, I guess, before we continue.
Yeah, we're here.
All right.
That's what happens, folks, when we do live, but I'm gonna go back to recording on my end here. So anyway, what I was talking about is that in the writing they were trying to be more personable with Maria Burton and Barry Burton, and then also the extra character that's in the game as well, where with him and his daughter, the Russian guy.
Yeah.
Um, so it's okay, I like it, but what I was saying before is I just like my stories to be simple in Resident Evil, not too much feeling, in my opinion. What about you?
Um, I tend to think, uh, when they keep it, yeah, when they keep it a little bit more simple in terms of like the characterization and stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, not trying to explore like, oh, their past, or oh, they got betrayed or something. I'm not saying that's bad, but you should probably keep that to a minimum. Uh, Here, I don't really think the game necessarily suffered for it, but it feels different from like what we're used to.
Yeah.
It kind of almost doesn't feel like Resident Evil in that way. But yeah, it is what it is, though. More, we can get to the characters a little bit here, because after I finish up these other points, because it's kind of I guess that's kind of a big topic in this game.
Okay.
Um, but there was another small thing that got cut. Apparently, Natalia was going to have more powers, including shooting lasers out of her fingers.
Oh my god, thank God that was cut.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, it was a little too comic booky or something, so they decided not to do that.
Mhm.
And I have a note about like sales and like where it kind of stands, so to speak.
Mhm.
It says as of March 2020, this game sold 2.6 million units,
Yeah.
and it surpassed the first game. And I think in like the grand scheme of things, like in best selling games, like the ranking for Capcom, it's like 25th. So it did fairly well. I mean, I guess, and there was plans on the table to do like a third game, but
Yeah,
it got canceled recently or something.
yeah, that was like up in the air recently, actually. Where they had a game where it was canceled for Nintendo Switch because apparently it was supposed to be Nintendo Switch. Where I think we were Rebecca Chambers apparently was going to be in it, and it
Yeah,
was
supposedly.
going to be Revelations 3. Uh, which listen, I don't mind these games. I don't, because it's like side story, and I think what really sold this game well is Claire. I mean, the last time we got a Claire centric type of game was Code Veronica.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That was a
and
long time ago.
yeah, and people, I think during that time, people were wondering what Barry Burton was doing. So
Yeah,
we got this as well. Um, but yeah, I don't mind him. I don't mind him at all.
yeah. So I guess we'll clump in character stuff with the voice acting changes and whatnot.
Hmm.
Which the biggest thing is Allison Court didn't come back to reprise Claire. They recast Claire for this game. And their philosophy behind that was they thought Allison Court sounded too young for like an older Claire, and they thought it would be confusing to have her with like Moira or something, like the actress that plays Moira. And I'm like, I don't know about that being confusing, but you could tell her to like, you could direct her to be like, try to deepen your voice a little bit or something, possibly. I don't know. The other thing about this change too is nobody knows who really played Claire in this game because she's under an assumed name. It's like her name, the credited name is James Baker.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the that's a guy's name. And then I think there was a strike going on like when this game was in development.
Mm-hmm.
And the story behind that is like the actress didn't want to get credited because she was with the union or something.
Oh, okay.
I've heard it's speculated to be Danielle Nicolette, who's done other games in anime or some shit. I think that in terms of video game role, the one she's most noted for is being Shondi in Saints Row.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's like a lot of anime voice actors in this game. Like you got Yuri Lowenthal, who's like Neil.
Mm-hmm.
And he's ridiculous when he mutates into, you called it Bane Neil.
Yeah.
And then like Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, who did a lot of like Silent Hill stuff. And then she's done a lot of anime and other game voices too.
Yeah, we got DC Douglas back for Albert Wesker in raid mode.
Just in raid mode.
Yeah. And Matthew Mercer, who is in raid mode, is Leon Scott Kennedy.
Yeah, him too.
Mm-hmm.
I would think it's crazy that they bother to get the people that played them like full-fledged in like a game, like that character actually had a part in that game's story, just to get them back for like an extra mode. Yeah, so like all the characters in this game, like we'll say the writing for them is maybe a little different from what you expect with some of them, and then some of these characters are new, like Moira, Alex, and Natalia, and Neil, I guess to a lesser extent.
Yeah.
Did you feel like Claire was written like consistently, or do you feel like she was like pretty different?
She felt different Claire in this, but I don't know if she's matured Claire, and that's what she was written as. Because remember when we saw what was the latest movie that we saw? Was it Vengeance or something like that? Resident Evil Vengeance?
I can't remember the freaking name of it, but yeah, it was like the one that was like set in like 2002 or something.
Yeah, it's right before Leon S. Kennedy goes to fucking
Infinite Darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you remember that scene where like Claire and Leon were having like a conflict because he wouldn't give up certain information because of national security and stuff? Mm-hmm. Do I think that matches a little bit to what Infinite Darkness is? Yes, but it still felt weird. I don't know how to put it. It felt like she was trying to be like a big sister to Moria. And I think that's how she was like being written in this game.
That's okay, because that part is consistent with something in her character before, is it going back all the way to Resident Evil 2. But there's one moment that like perfectly encapsulates like, okay, that's not too consistent. Which is like, it's like when they find that little girl Natalia. Mm-hmm. And then like Claire's like, who are you? What's your name? What are you doing here? Like she just starts like barraging her with questions. And it's like obviously like a little 10-year-old girl or something, if that.
Yeah.
And then Moira's like, whoa, settle down. Like you chill out. And Moira's the one that's been like cussing up a storm and like yelling and shit the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then she like, she deals down, starts talking to her and stuff and being sweet with her. And then Claire's like, you're pretty good with kids. And I'm like, what happened to like Resident Evil 2 when you were pretty good with kids? Like it's like that aspect of her personality is just gone or something.
I truly think it's because it's episodic. Like they're trying to make it like a TV show where
Yeah.
it's like, oh my god, what is this little kid and stuff, and that's why like Claire said it that way, and then like changing tune later. Like there's so much like tropes in this as well. Like not tropes. There's a lot of similarities to like actual like media, like Saw. Like when they're on the island wearing these bracelets, having this person talk to you and go through like different parts of the map of the island. I'm like, wow, this feels very Saw like. Like that threw me off sometimes. I'm diving into the story now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we could do that too here.
Mm,
Don't really have like a story specific segment anyway.
mhm.
Uh, that's another thing. Like when it was playing, like the CG cutscene, like the opening, like where how it shows how they end up on the island and shit.
Mhm.
It didn't really. I didn't think about it the first time, but when I saw that scene playing out again, you know, when all those guys just come in with like tactical gear and just gas everybody and like steal them.
Yeah.
Who the fuck were those people and where did they go after that?
Yeah, I kept on thinking they were just like terror save or like whatever anti-establishment that was going against the what Leon and Barry Burton and Claire are a part of the BSAA and all that stuff.
They obviously work for Wesker or
Hmm.
she Wesker, as Barry calls her, but it's like they just fucking disappear and they mutate into like all these fucking weirdos you kill later in the game, I guess.
I guess so, and it I guess like the whole dumb story, like kidnapping these people, and then like Alex Wesker. Like her main goal is so that she could transfer her consciousness into Natalia. Like,
Well, it's because she's dying because her body is like shit, apparently. Like,
yeah,
like her genetic makeup's fucked and she's like got some, I don't know, disease. They don't get very like into detail about that at all, in any kind of detail about it. They just say, oh, she's dying. It's like, why? And they don't really say. Um, I guess they're trying to make it seem like because you know they're all like all the Wesker children are like genetic experiments are playing off of like those files you find in Resident Evil 5 and stuff.
hmm
She was one of the Weskers mentioned in the memo in the Mansion DLC.
but what was the point of having like these different people? Were they just like candidates for possible conscience transfer?
Yeah, they
Or-
were actually that's
o-
what she was. That's what she was doing.
Okay,
But yeah, she still had she figured out eventually. Oh, Natalia's like, oh, her bracelet's not going off because she saw some fucked up shit early in her childhood and it messed her up or something. They don't even get into that either.
hmm
Uh, but I also want to say real quick, just with the writing, it's like okay, you bring Claire back. What does she do? She gets captured and put on an island again. It's not
yes,
all familiar to like anything that happened to her before.
hmm
It's another penal colony, prison island, or something.
You know what I kind of wanted a little bit instead of an island. I trust me, I don't remember which fucking Resident Evil movie it was, but do you remember when they put Alice in like this like world that was like underground in Japan and shit, and like they simulated everybody like they are living, you know, a life in this little simulation world for Alice.
Yeah, it was like a big simulation they made up.
I kind of wish they did something like that with Claire. Uh,
Oh my god.
and like that's how Alex Wesker is trying to like find her candidate and stuff to see who's good and stuff.
That could, you know, actually in that manner, it could have been pretty interesting. I think the game would need a bigger budget for that, though.
Yeah, obviously. But like, yeah, I agree with you. Like, she's captured again. Like, Claire's supposed to be the iconic of a badass female, right? And next to Ada Wong.
Jill,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and like you're making her clumsy all the time, always getting caught and putting in her in these situations. I would rather like her to be like one day just how she was in Resident Evil 2 on her bike, just ending up in places. and
Yeah,
being a reporter.
gotta get the scoops.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Moira's character is like kind of grating for like most of the game
Oh, she's annoying.
because like her whole thing it plays out really fast because it's like it reveals like oh she's got like a fucking rocky relationship with her dad and it's like if you even bring him up she's like fuck Barry, like she
Yeah,
literally says that is like we're not talking about him, like she's so oh she hates her dad, okay, we get one of those characters.
yeah. When the Jill sandwich or the Claire sandwich comment came out, like she was like disgusted, like ugh, that story again, ugh. And I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, she's like, and I'm not saying you can't have a character that's like curmudgeony or anything like that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's too much for too long. Like until she doesn't really start softening up and kind of being a little bit more normal until they meet Natalia. Like she's
Yeah.
still freaking out, like what the fuck, mom? It's like she's always freaking out and cussing at shit, and like I'm cussing right now too, but I don't know. It feels weird to play like a Resident Evil game and have somebody like talk like that for some reason.
The thing with like Japanese developers, when I think they are like heels, man. Like when they create like whiny characters, they overdo it like a heel character in wrestling.
They kind of do. But yeah, I will give her credit though. She does develop and change over the course of the game, especially like when you get in the later part or like when you play like the DLC
Hmm.
for which I actually thought was pretty good. Uh, and then on the flip side, you got Barry, who's coming in, and it's like these events take place at different periods of time. Like Claire, the stuff that happens with Claire and Moira is like earlier than like what
Yeah, it was,
happened with Barry. It's like Barry shows up like almost like a year later.
yeah, it's like 6 months apparently, like 6 months later, and like I guess it's kind of interesting because like you see the events of Claire and Moria, and then like obviously you feel the time difference, I guess, because like Barry's like, man, where's my daughter? Where's Claire? Like, and then he like goes out on a mission and then finds Natalia that's just sitting there and stuff on
Well,
an island.
well, he actually meets Claire. It's like when the end of their episode, like when they escape
Yeah,
from the island, and like they find Claire, but they don't find Moira. And like she's like in a hospital, and he's like, where's Moira? And she like manages to like basically say, I'm sorry, I couldn't
like
save
she's
her.
dead. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's where I think it's kind of written really well, I guess, because you have that scene where he's like, "Where's Maria?" and he's like, "Sorry," and then like flashback of her like tumbling down into all the rocks and stuff, and where I think Moria shines is with that Russian guy because she develops like now she understands how her father feels about you know uh his daughters and stuff, and that's why they care so much. And like she learns about like Barry wasn't being an asshole, he's just probably depressed, and you know all that, and he had to learn Barry had to be a father again because he did have some anger towards Moria killing, being irresponsible with a weapon.
yeah, uh, yeah. Because Barry, like the first one you start playing, Barry's by himself for uh, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes or something,
Hmm.
if that. And then he meets Natalia, and that's when he's like, he starts, she pretty much tags along with him from there. And yeah, it's like he's kind of like taking care of her and having to relearn how to be dad with small children.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes grumpy survival dad simulator.
Yeah.
Because it's like oh okay I get it. Last of Us came out like a year ago, like from when this game did.
Yeah, when they had to put like the stealth in this game.
Because remember when that was like a big trope, like after Last of Us, everybody was wanting to make like grumpy survival dad simulators.
Yeah.
Just,
uh a- Anybody else? I mean, we have the the other two reporters that tag along, they're throwaway characters. The one that like fixed the helicopter, which by the way, the helicopter where he dies is hilarious to me.
Man, those characters are ridiculous. Like, okay, like, you call them reporters. I don't really know what TerraSave is, but I feel like it's some kind of like activist,
like a nonprofit,
nonprofit, quasi paramilitary organization against like bioterrorism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like the BSAA. It's different. It's more cuddly and friendly. I think they're supposed to be, and like, yeah, there's these other survivors. There's like Gina Foley, who's like is supposed to be Rachel Foley's sister, and she just fucking like dies. And it looks like a scene out of a Silent Hill game when you find her because she's just covered in blood. She's like, it's like, okay, so she was supposed to be in the game a little bit more, but they cut her part for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Foley sisters get screwed over through this entire series. I was kind of hoping if they did make Resident Evil 3, there'd be another one.
Yeah.
But then you meet Pedro, and I forget the other guy's name. And Pedro's ridiculous because he sounds like, I don't know how else to put it, but he just sounds like a stereotypical like Hispanic gay guy. I don't, and it's like, okay, like you have this guy and he's being kind of ridiculous and he's like a scaredy cat, and then the other dude is like, I'm fucking cool. I'm gonna fix this helicopter and we're gonna get the fuck out of here. And Pedro has a drill or so. He finds a drill and he gets mutated and he turns into like a drill monster.
Yeah.
You have to put him down. And then the other dude who fixes the helicopter, yeah, he's flying around later. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna make it. And then he fucking gets shot down or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hilarious.
Well, how he goes down, I believe, is like he's like, "Hey, I'm over here. Come here. We're gonna get off this island." And like that's when Alex Wesker is like, "What are you doing? You're cheating," or something along that line. I'm paraphrasing. And then like she shocks EMPs like the helicopter, and then like it crashes and stuff. And I just fucking laughed my ass off when he died. I was like, that was almost funny. That was almost the time. Remember when we played Resident Evil 5 and that troll thing like stomped on that guy?
That was. There's always some kind of like death in these games, and like these newer games that are supposed to be like, oh shit, that guy died, or like that was fucked up, but then it ends up being more funny somehow than that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like, I guess all that really leaves. There's not much to say about Natalia. I mean, you kind of learn a little bit about her, like when you're playing with Barry.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it's her DLC where they try to like fill in more of her story.
Yeah, the weird like bear thing.
The fucking irritating bullshit DLC we'll get to.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that really just leaves Neil and Alex to kind of like touch on.
Yeah, I don't like we said before, Neil was like a throwaway character, and I guess we don't know if like cutting him out was a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe there was more backstory that we could have learned from him.
I feel like there should have been more with him because they very lightly establish Neil and Claire are in a relationship early in this game.
Yeah.
And like this is another this is kind of another thing about her character a little bit that I feel like they mess up. When it's like at first she's not really talking about Neil that much. She's like, we gotta find the others, we gotta find everybody. When they do find Neil, she's all about Neil. It's like, we gotta get Neil, we gotta find Neil. Where's Neil? Neil. It's like, there's other people here. There's like this little girl, like what? Like, feels strange.
I guess she was selfish. She wanted the D more than actual saving children.
yeah, which is goes against the type of her character that was established already.
Yeah.
But Neil's there's not a lot to him, and it's not until later when you learn that like I guess he was working for Alex.
Yeah,
And he
and
betrayed everybody. That actually facilitated like how those people were able to come in and like bust everybody and take them to this island.
yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense that way, but like at the same time, like the turn was so blah.
And the explanation for it is like it's barely there, but it's also stupid. And it's like he's helping Alex, so I guess somehow he could get like money or like political influence so he can bring back the FBC because apparently he used to be in the FBC.
Hmm.
And he really believed in the FBC for some reason. It's like weird. It's like, dude, it's just like a fucking a government sponsored biohazard countermeasure team. It's that's like saying you really believe in the FBI or some shit. Like what the fuck? But she basically betrays him and is like, you dumbass, you believe me. My name's Wesker. Fuck off. She infects him or whatever.
Hmm.
And that's when he turns into Bade Neal. And I'll never forget this doing that boss fight where he's screaming and shit. And he goes like, for the FBC! Like it was some kind of like huge part of his life. It's like, what the fuck? They lost me there and it just became funny.
Yeah. What do you think of the boss battle, by the way?
It was like it wasn't bad, but it was like, I don't know. It felt weird to have a boss like that in that game.
Yeah, and it's actually funny that you brought up like Last of Us because like everything felt like The Last of Us as far as like a boss battle in this game. Because when you do a boss battle in a Resident Evil game, like you know it's a boss battle. In The Last of Us, it's a boss battle, but it feels like it's within the world. If that makes any sense, because like when you
It's like
enter,
within the framework of what would be a boss in a game like The Last of Us, which is like
yeah.
pretty grounded in terms of like stuff that happens or whatever.
And by the way, we're kind of in the meaty flesh right now because we've been talking about stories and the characters and stuff. So
We're in the fatty outer layer right now.
yeah. Alex, on the other hand, like you said, she was in that document, so like it is lore. But at the same time, did we really need her?
It's interesting to explore the possibility that another one survived or something, and to do something with that. Um, I liked the idea of doing that, and I don't think like her execution was necessarily bad,
Mm-hmm.
but there could have been like more. Like they could have gave us something more with her because it was just like I said, they very vaguely established there's something wrong with her, and
Mm-hmm.
she's on borrowed time in terms of like her lifespan. And I don't know. It's like you don't get to find out too much about her, and then she just mutates into a weird monster because she tries to kill herself at the end after like basically doing her plot. She's like, I've done it. I uploaded my consciousness into the computer, and it will go into the subject I have chosen, which was Natalia.
By the way, was that weird on how her blood splattered? By the way, because it looked like she did her like the side, and I'm
Yeah,
thinking the blood should go that way, but like she put the gun here and the blood went
it's
front.
straight forward.
Yeah.
It's like the bullet it ricocheted her skull and came out of the front of her fucking head. I don't know.
Yeah, because like I know that's what they were trying to like show. Like, oh my god, like she killed herself. Let's show the blood on the thing. But like maybe you should have done it where she's talking and then the blood goes that way. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
like it's like after that, like what happens is it's like it looks like she just kills herself, but very shortly or a little while later, you realize she's like this weird monster now. It's like when you're playing as Barry.
Yeah, because she fucked up because, well, and that's like a red herring, which I guess we'll get to the end later. Like she does this thing because she wants to transfer her consciousness, which kind of makes sense, right? Like that's everybody's evil plot is to like have this evil person in someone innocent, I guess, like Claire or Moria or even Natalia. Um, and so like I get that evil plot, and I'm not like being like that's dumb because a lot of Resident Evil like villains plots are kind of stupid anyway. Uh, and most of them
What are you
we
talking
kind
about? Wesker wanted to saturate the world.
yeah. And what about Resident Evil Zero with the leech monster and shit? Like that was, in my opinion, dumb.
He
Uh,
he wanted revenge on everybody that fucked him, but I guess he was going to turn the whole world into leeches. I don't know.
yeah. and he and he sings on a fucking like a hilltop anyway. Um, yeah, Alex Wesker, I think she should have had some DLC, in my opinion.
Should have had something, I think. And I like the idea of her character. I kind of like the outline of her, so to speak. Like she's like this. It's interesting to have like a female villain
Hmm.
like in one of these games, and she's like super cultured and has like all this fancy shit in like her quarters where she lives, and she's always quoting to fucking Dante's or Kafka or whatever. I was thinking about the first game, but and it's kind of like they sort of brought her back when they did the what was the name of the game that shipped with RE3 that it was like the little online game you could play.
Oh, Resistance or
Yeah,
whatever.
it was Resistance. She was like one of the masterminds in that game,
Mm.
and which is like, I guess, sort of like saying like in a soft way, it's like, oh yeah, she's been around for a while. She's been in the Umbrella organization, and it's like, well, that's interesting. I wish they could kind of explore that a little bit more now, but alas, it is not meant to be, I suppose.
Yeah. You ready to talk about some gameplay stuff?
Yes, there's not a whole lot, but yes.
I want to talk about the co-op thing. And what I mean by co-op, I mean you playing with yourself, but you're switching between characters. What'd you think of that? Like, I guess it's better than the stupid little machine that you had that you'd find, what do you call it, items. But I hate the whole thing about like using a feature to find items.
Yeah, the Genesis scanner, what that was, that made more sense in the context of like you playing that game on a handheld, like on the DS, the 3DS. But yeah, like when you play it on console or like a PC port, it's like this feels really weird and clunky. like like it feels unnecessary.
Yeah.
But like on on a little DS screen, like that makes sense to have something like that to help you find items because it's
Yeah.
little, it's a small screen.
And Nintendo has like that weird, like we need to be unique and different when we do our games, which is not a bad thing, but like at the same time, it's me something doing extra to get it like bullets or an herb and all that stuff. And
In
that's
this, yeah, I get what you're saying. In this case, like it's like yeah, they still insist on having you be tethered to like a partner character, and this time it's like yeah, you can kind of control them, you can switch between them, and they don't really have combat. I mean, Moira has a crowbar and you can hit people with it, but she has a flashlight and that helps her find items
how
and
is it
stuff.
playing on a hard, by the way, with her with the enemies? Did she always get in trouble?
Not really. Um, no, she didn't really get in trouble that much. And the effectiveness of her crowbar was like it was less effective until I upgraded it more. Um,
Yes.
and then Natalia doesn't do combat at all other than throwing a brick at somebody.
Yeah.
But like her deal's the same thing. It's another like partner character that finds items or is able to crawl through a duct or something.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and again, it's doing that Last of Us thing where like, oh, I'm too big to go in this hole. Go in there and open up the door. And then they had like small, I wouldn't call them puzzles, but like you had to be like, you stay here and hit the switch while I go run and try to go past the gate and stuff,
Hmm.
kind of things.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of that. I don't glorify any of those mechanics at all because I'm just like, God, this is just so annoying. And how the because it still kind of had like tanky or clunky controls. So when I like press A to run, like I was hitting, certain items and it would hold me up, and then the gate would shut down and I would have to do it again. And it frustrated me so much when I had to do those type of areas. With me switching in between every character, like because Natalia has this supernatural, like she could see enemies like through the walls and stuff. Uh, and you switch through her.
She has
Uh,
monster sense.
yeah, like I get what they're trying to do, but at the same time, like that could be on like a mini map, like or me visually seeing it myself, or at least let me do the legwork.
Yeah. I don't really. It doesn't bother me a lot or anything that they kind of did it this way. But it sort of feels like a weird half step to like an attempt to actually make it like, oh, it's more of a co-op game, because Resident Evil Revelations 1 wasn't a co-op game at all. You just had a partner character with you all the time. Not all the time. There was times where you were by yourself,
Mhm.
which it was fine. That doesn't really happen in this game. You're always with the other character pretty much. Um, and it feels weird that they did this and they didn't add online co-op. Like, I forgot this game didn't have online co-op until I started playing it again, and I was talking to my sister about it because she played it a lot back in the day too, and she's like, "No, it doesn't have online co-op." I'm like, "Really? It doesn't?" Like, I just couldn't believe that. And not
And I
that
would,
there's a lot for you to do when you're the other character though.
yeah, but I think that would be because I kind of wish it did have co-op, and yeah, it
We
would
could have
be
played
kind,
this game.
yeah, that too, and it, it, it and obviously you want to be the person with the guns because guns are cool, especially when you're shooting like all the enemies and stuff. But I think it would be interesting of having a co-op partner could be like, hey, there's a guy over there, right? Instead of you being like, hold on, I gotta press Y. All right, let me switch. Let me go point at the coin that is like flashing over there so that I could have Claire pick it up. Because if you pick it up with, Moria or Natalia, and it has something to do with the pistol, then you have to switch to the character to Moria and Natalia so that you could switch the item to Claire, so that she has bullets.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, it's like they take a simple feature and be like, how do we make it difficult? Or
I,
how do we make it longer than just a button?
how can we make it where you go around your elbow to get to your wrist?
Yes.
Fuck. Just yeah, there is that aspect to it for sure. I Grant, it's weird. It's like, yeah, it's like I don't know why they didn't add online co-op, but at the same time, it's like, how engaging would that be to play as the character that just has a flashlight? And Moira can engage in combat a little bit more than
Mhm.
Natalia, but like still. Then you can play co-op on the couch, which is something nobody ever does anymore. I mean, game developers, they don't add that kind of content to their games anymore. But it'd probably be better in person to play like that. I always heard it's funny. I always heard this is a good game to like get your girlfriend to play with you or something, because maybe she's not into games.
Mhm.
I'm not saying girls can't be into games. Don't be so simplistic. But a lot of people, their girlfriend might not be into games, and the playing the partner character that isn't as mechanically complicated as like a player character could help.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, I heard real life stories from some of my friends about that, like kind of being that way. Um, there was also like they do like other stuff too. Like there's like these lock picking mini games. Like you find like these crates
I hate them.
or these chests. It's kind of weird, like at first when you do it, because they don't really explain very well like how it works. Like they tell you, like, yeah, you got to find the area and do it. But then like you start to do it, and it's like your brain hasn't really wrapped around the concept yet, and it's like,
This
so you
is how
go,
I this is how I did it. Is I moved around the sticks and I was like, oh, I felt vibration. And when I feel too much vibration, I like do this until it unlocks. And that's how I did it. I didn't like find out the actual way how to do it. I
that's
kind of
actually that is how you do it. It's just that it's so simple that by not explaining it, you trick yourself into thinking it's a lot more difficult than what it really is.
yeah.
It's like one of those things.
I kept on thinking, like, I tried to wrap my brain on like how it was doing, like this, like when you need the small hands for Natalia to open up that one lock. I just imagine her like, because you're moving around the sticks, like her arms or like her hands is like going in the lock and stuff until you get the unlock mechanism. Uh, but then you have the crowbar where fucking Mori is just crowbarring a fucking chest open. Oh, and I want to bring this up too. When you have to open up the door, like there needs to be a prompt of me telling me how to like do the crowbar thing. Cause like I had a crowbar and it just stood there and it wasn't moving. And I'm like, all right, like is the thing supposed to come off? And then if you tap the button again, it automatically does it.
Yeah, for as prompt happy as Resident Evil got, especially with like RE6. Like you open a damn door, you got to do like a quick time event or something.
Mm.
Like this game has that a little bit too. It's not nearly as offensive and as prevalent, but like, yeah, I don't know. Instinctively, I just knew that was what to do. But yeah, there is that like second or two. You're like, wait, what the fuck? Oh, okay. Let's just press the button more.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of this game when Neil transforms into a monster. It's
Yeah.
like,
To our audio listeners, I have a YouTube video going, and Neil just got infected, and yeah, like you can look at it now, like Claire's eyes like look like she has feelings for him.
he's like, I did what I thought was right, and I'm like, you got all your friends fucking killed so you can bring back your stupid government agency. That sounds stupid. Also, yeah, she cries when he dies.
Mm-hmm.
And she's Boris like, Claire, are you crying? And she's like, no. It's like, let's see what else. Oh yeah, they expand like the skill system from like the previous game.
Yes.
It's laid out a lot better in this. And I forgot. Yeah, he's got Ouroboros. And he's like, oh, it's not death, it's power. He basically goes insane, like, and embraces like turning into a monster. It's so fucking ridiculous.
What's sad is like this is the only boss battle I actually like. A spoiler alert before we get into the lightning round. Like the whole like Wesker thing, I was like, it's a boss battle. But like this one, I was like laughing, and I was like,
It was fun.
Yeah,
It felt ridiculous. It felt like when you fought what's his face in Resident Evil 6, Simmons.
yeah.
Except it's not as ridiculous as Simmons, where he keeps coming back over and over and over. But yeah, the skill system's laid out like a tree now, and it's everything is explained better, like what it does and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it just feels like they kind of cleaned it up and made it work more.
Yeah, and the customizing of the weapons and stuff is cool. I like that's the one thing I like about when you're the other character and you're finding like all the customizable things for the guns. And then again, that's where the Last of Us shit comes into play because there's a workbench, and that's what Last of Us has is a workbench to upgrade your weapons. So that's another thing they stole.
Borrowed.
Yeah.
There's not much else to say about the skills thing. There's multiple endings. And by multiple, I mean there's two.
I got the ending where you're a fucking Burton and all that stuff. So I guess I got the good ending, right? Because they're
Yeah,
on the helicopter.
there's one specific instance that determines which ending you get, which I don't like because it feels lazy. It feels like if you're going to have multiple endings, you need to have a few more factors than that. And
Yeah.
it's in this scene after you finish this boss fight, and it's when Claire's stuck under Neil or whatever the fuck, and he's about to kill her. And Moira's like, she loses her gun. Her gun flies out of her hand.
Mm-hmm.
And Moira's like right there, and that's when she has to like either get over her hang-ups about guns and try to save her friend, or not do anything, and Claire manages to get it anyway, and then and shoots him. And that's what determines which ending you get.
It'd be really funny if, like, I know this is Japan, so like Japan doesn't have a lot of like Second Amendment stuff like what we do in America. But
Yeah.
imagine like you choose the option of not shooting Neil with the gun, and you're like, see, this is what happens when you don't take up your Second Amendment right. You die.
Die. You get your friend killed.
Yeah.
But I got the bad ending because I didn't know that when I played the game the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just naturally I remember getting the good ending the first time I played. I guess that time I just naturally I thought, what's happening here? And I didn't react quick enough, I guess, and it just kind of played out.
Yeah.
Or no, I thought like I mistook how this cutscene went. It looked I was in Claire's perspective, and it looks like you're supposed to reach for the gun there. It just showed you. And I was like, oh shit, I got to get the gun. And I thought it was just like one of those. I wasn't in Moira's perspective where it shows it, like, oh, you can crawl for it. You can do that.
So you were confused.
I was confused. Yeah. See, it doesn't like it. Now the prompt says when that comes up, switch characters. And I'm like, why would I do that? I'm trying to not die. So, but yeah.
Well, do you see how the gun shot, by the way? Hold on. They had the barrel just looked weird.
It kind of stuck out a little bit past the slide.
Yeah. For our video listeners here, watchers, like, look at the barrel. That looks weird, dude.
It was okay. I see what happened. It was like in the position where, like, when you empty you fire semi-automatic pistol empty, and like the slide stops back there to let you know
Okay.
it's empty. It was stuck like that for some reason, but then she had bullets.
Yeah.
It doesn't make anything. They fucked up a little bit there. But yeah, it's cool that there's multiple endings in this game, but still it's two. But I feel like it hinging on that one single scene, and then you have a little bit more game to play after that to get to your different ending.
Mm.
They could have implemented that a little better.
Yeah. What would you think of the good ending, by the way? Like,
the good ending's cool.
Yeah,
it's a lot cooler, and there's more. Because did you ever get the bad ending, or did you just see it?
I saw it online. Because every time when I play the game, I go, I'm gonna shoot the fucking enemy. Like, I guarantee you, like, this might be, maybe they put that for like casual people, I guess, where people like are oh, I'm gonna stick to Moira's values, I guess, on guns and not shoot. And maybe that's why they did that. So, like, hey, you need to shoot the gun sometimes to save your friends and family. And don't kill your family, but save them.
You need to get out of your comfort zone sometimes to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about that. It's just like it could have been executed a little better. We was talking about how like the endings are different. The bad ending is a lot more flat, and Moira just fucking dies in the bad ending. She doesn't even survive. And then like when you do the final boss fight with Barry and shit, and you it gets to a point where he's not able to kill Alex, and she grabs him, and then like Natalia actually kills her with like powers, with like 11 from Stranger Thing mind powers and shit. And it shows like her programming, her like of her brain from like getting Alex's consciousness uploaded into it's taken over.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like, and then like Barry realizes what happened now. And he's like, oh no, like what the hell? And then she's like, you're not going to shoot me. You can't because you're weak. And then he's like, damn it, because he can't shoot a child.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the game. Like Claire doesn't come back to save everybody in like a cool way in a helicopter. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't get the scene where like Barry fights Alex and he's like, I don't need a sniper rifle. I have this. And he holds up a Smith & Wesson 500 with the fuck.
Yeah.
And he fucking pulls the hammer back and does all that cool shit. Yeah, the good ending's so much better.
There's a part, I mean, right now in the video, it's up to the part with the bullet splatter and all that, so the brain splatter. But like before that, like she's in the room where she sees like all her, the people files that are on the screens, like the multiple monitors. The first thing that comes to mind is Batman in the Justice League, where he's like looking at every Justice League member and knows all their weaknesses. Like was that Injustice? I think that was Injustice, right?
I think it was Injustice, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's a little side note. I was like, that kind of brings back memories. But I'm trying to think what else I liked or disliked about the gameplay. Again, in Revelations 2, there's not a lot of documents, but it's more than Revelations 1.
Yeah, there was more of that stuff in this game.
Mm.
A lot of it revolved around like the people that live on that island, which is like somewhere in Russia.
Yeah.
And it's just like talking about how like Alex came to this island and she brought like a construction crew and built all this stuff and has a bunch of money and employed a bunch of people to like mine and build for her and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like some people are like, this is awesome, man. Our economy is just like jumping now and stuff. And then people start disappearing or something. And and it turns out that, like some of these people figure out she's actually a bad guy and that's that.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I want to bring up. Fuck those invisible fuckers, by the way.
Those things fucking suck. Yeah. So like, I guess we can talk about the monsters real quick in this
Mhm.
game, the enemies, which you said something like they seem more like Silent Hill enemies than Resident Evil ones usually.
Yeah, like the early game, and I guess maybe that's why there's like a time difference, I guess, a little bit, because in the beginning it's like a little more zombie-ish. Then like when you get to Barry, it's like more mutated and stuff, and that's when you have to like shoot the fuck me light on those enemies, where like a bubble comes out of like a kneecap that you have to shoot.
Yeah, those things are annoying too because they always show up in a different fucking area.
Yeah, but my thing with Resident Evil, and I always go to Resident Evil 2 because I think what fascinated me more about Resident Evil 2 is the type of enemies. You had the zombies, then you had the like lickers, and then you had the Mr. X, and then you had like the tyrants and stuff. It's simple, but it's like within that zombie apocalypse kind of thing. But like when you get down the road where Umbrella's making these different strains and like the Ouroboros and stuff, they start to get a little wacky with the enemies itself. And like in this one, I was like, those seem like it needs to be in like a foggy Silent Hill type of game.
Yeah, some of the specifically the weird monsters that it's like they're mutated people, but they've turned more into mutants than man now.
Mm.
And that have like the fuck me lights randomly that show up on their fat mutated bulbous bodies when you shoot them.
Yeah, and then they had like some of them had like armor on their heads, like Pyramid Head, but it wasn't as big as Pyramid Head.
Yeah, or they have like biomechanical bone saws or something somehow, and just weird shit like that. And then there's these weird insect enemies that suck. I fucking hate those things. And it's like it's set up to where only Barry encounters, like Claire counters him eventually, but Barry's the one that fights him the most.
Yeah.
But they're invisible, and you hear like a noise or something when they're kind of around, and you'll know that one of them's near because your screen will start to distort. It's like it's distorting your vision, and you can't see as well. And when they get really close, it's like you can hardly see fucking anything.
Yeah.
So like you start panicking. You're like, what the fuck? Where is it? I can't see. Like, you're looking for it, and you can't see anything anyway because the screen's fucking up, and you get got. It instant kills you.
Yeah. Yeah. I in the beginning, and this is where I started to listen to Natalia, because like she gives you directions and stuff. Like, oh, you're close to it. Oh, you should. It's to the left now, to the right. And I didn't.
It kind of works. It doesn't work that well.
Yeah. But what I was leading into is when I first played this game. Obviously, I learned it the second time around. Um, the first time I played it, I was like, oh, I need to like do like Metal Gear and sneak out, because when you go at the end, you actually see one of the red blobs, because when you're Natalia, you see like a red blob as like the whatever creature it is. So like when it's coming out of the gate area where you need to go, I was like, oh, maybe I need to go behind a fence and let him walk by. No, they see you, and they're all converging on you. And there's a building in that area where you jump over the fence and like you can go around the house. So like when he's coming around the fence, I jump over the fence and then I'm getting boxed in by another red blob. But I didn't know you could shoot them when I first played them. So every time I'm like, how the fuck do I get past this guy? Because like I can try to like juke him, but like that's a very narrow window and I can't do that. So I was like, oh, let me just try to shoot them. And I killed one. I'm like, fuck, is this all I had to do?
You gotta shoot them. The problem is like figuring out where to shoot them. And I had we were kind of on a vacation a little bit when I initially played through this game, the rest of it, and I mentioned my sister was there. I was talking to her about this game. She actually played a little bit of it with me on co-op, and because she was watching me play as Barry, he's like, I fucking hate these things. And she's like, hang on, let me play as Natalia. I was like, okay. It's a lot easier to figure out where the fuck these things are if you're playing co-op with somebody, because she can see it, and then you can clearly kind of see on their screen where it is. But the problem also is it shrinks your screen real estate so much because it's doing split screen.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps more, and at the same time, it handicaps you a little bit more because you're trying to like figure out where it's at on a smaller screen.
I mean, I get it, what they're trying to do. Like Natalia is the enemy seeker, the monster seeker or whatever. But at the same time, it was annoying. Like, and it was so out of character, in my opinion, of having like camouflage fucking enemies and stuff.
There's some other there. Oh yeah, there was like a boss here in this. It's showing like this mining area. That was a fucking pain in the ass too, because if this thing, I hate instant kill enemies.
Yeah.
Because if they just touch you, you're dead. That's not to say like, okay, that's not saying I hate hunters, because hunters have the potential to insta kill you.
Yeah.
At least in the older games they did, but you had to be like in caution for that to happen.
Well, the difference between this game and like the old games where the instant kill, like you see the enemy winding up before doing the instant kill. But like when you play this game, yeah,
sometimes you turn that corner and then like you're dead because you can see the hunter around the corner and it's just like, oh fuck.
But this game, like you bump into it, or like if you have a malfunction in the game, and then all of a sudden you're dead.
Yep, and I think RE5 really kind of started that trend of having like some instant kill enemy. Remember those weird bugs? It's another fucking bug enemy.
Yeah.
It would like grab you, and it would like start stabbing you with like all of its appendages, and you couldn't fucking do shit. You're just dead. Like that enemy sucked dicks too.
Yeah.
Uh, um,
Weapons, I guess. What'd you feel about all the weapons?
um, I they were good. I wish that maybe there was just a little bit more variety in like what you could find.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not saying the game doesn't offer a variety, because there's a couple different handguns you can get. Uh, there's 2 different shotguns. There's like 2 sniper rifles, a couple of SMGs, and a couple of assault rifles. And I don't think I'm forgetting anything there. And then you have like your knife, and you can make like explosives. You can make like you get like, you find bottles, and you can get like, there's a crafting system in this too. That's another thing that's from Last of Us.
Yeah.
And you can like make like a disinfectant and stuff like that, but you can also find like empty glass bottles, and you put alcohol and rags in them, and you can make like a Molotov cocktail. You can make like a weird smoke bomb, and just an explosive basically.
Mm. It helped a lot in certain situations where like I run out of bullets, and then I'm like, oh, let me just use this, and then either get past the enemy or kill the enemy. So I didn't mind it. It was a good feature in my opinion, because it made me go search places. Because usually in Resident Evil games, I don't dive too much into exploration because I'm like trying to get to point A to point B.
Yeah.
So it made me like scope out the environment before I moved on.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. There was the DLC, which on our screen is showing one of the DLCs.
Yeah, Natalia's, which I didn't like.
No, Moira's DLC was cool because it's like it shows what happens like when Claire manages to escape, but Moira gets left behind.
Yeah, because she's being with Evgeny, and you see how he treats her, and like I like the part where like don't curse, because he's like, I'll wash your mouth out with soap, Moria, or something like that, because she was being a little bitch, and cursing, and he kind of like puts, matures her in a way, kind of opens her eyes. And it's such a sad story. Like, out of the whole story, I like the Evgeny is my favorite character.
Yeah, because his whole thing is like he's an older guy, like he's an old man really,
Mm.
and like his daughter got caught up in the shit that was going on in the island, and she eventually died. I guess he figures it out later. Like she disappears, but he never really gives up on finding her.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got some kind of illness going on. Like he's something's wrong with him, and clearly he's not that well.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, like the whole story is it's just about Moira surviving on the island with this guy, and he's teaching her how to like, you got to find rabbits, and you got to like, it's more Grumpy Dad survival simulator shit, except he plays the crotchety little annoying shit daughter this time.
Yeah.
And it's like this is where a lot more of her character develops here. Like you get to actually see it, and they work together, and they kind of like form a little bit of a bond. And then like when they find out like, oh, his daughter actually died, he kind of just fucking gives up and dies.
Yeah.
It's like, damn.
The way I looked at it is his daughter died on this island, so he's gonna die with her, kind of thing, kind of like being buried with her.
Yeah.
Which, again, great character development for Moria, within that episode, and then having this side character, which out of everybody in the main story in this game has more of feelings and depth compared to like someone like Neil.
Sometimes that's how these games are. It's like when everybody talks about like, okay, like RE2 remake, everybody's talking about Kendo or like Marvin and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes the side characters just hit you in the right spot.
Yeah. What do you think of Natalia's DLC? Because you said you had some big gripes that you wanted to talk about.
I fucking hate it. It's like this game also has stealth mechanics. It's like in the regular game, like if you're playing as somebody that's actually allowed to do shit,
Hmm.
like Barry or Claire, you can like sneak up behind enemies and stealth kill them, which is pretty helpful in this game sometimes actually.
Yeah.
Um, but what's he got, an iPod there? It's showing Barry like sailing to the island, and he's got like looks like he's listening to like a thing on an iPod.
I got one of these.
I got one of these. They stopped making them in 2008. um. Anyway, yeah, it's about Natalia, and like it's showing how Alex's personality is like manifesting in her because she sees like a dark version of herself.
Hmm.
And she's got to find Lottie. Like she's got this little bear or something, and basically it's like she's kind of learning how her weird abilities work and everything. And that's all this is. It's kind of filling in those gaps.
Yeah.
And it leads up to when she meets Barry too. That's actually like the other thing about that. But it's all stealth because she can't fight. Like she can throw a brick and she can like throw smoke bombs, but that's all she can do.
You know what it remind me of? Did you play the Spider-Man game?
Oh, like when you're playing those sections with Mary Jane?
Yeah.
Yeah, but those were good.
Yeah, I mean those were actually better, but like it did take you away from the action with Peter Parker, which was a downside for me for that game, but that's a different story.
I thought they were okay. It does give you a little bit of a break in the action too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's neither here nor there. That's a different game. That's a different podcast. That's a Spider-Man podcast.
We just have like a Marvel video game fucking ranking of
Oh
all the
God,
Marvel games.
God damn, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
But I didn't like this though because it's like the stealth mechanics are okay in this game, and
Mm-hmm.
the sometimes you can sneak up on enemies and they're dumb as a doornail, almost like some of the early Metal Gear games.
Yeah. By the way, the one thing I want to say about the stealth is like you literally have to stare at these enemies and learn their patterns. Because like I did the automatic, oh, he just turned his back, let me go kill him thing. But then like a second later, he turned around and like all the enemies would start fucking chasing me. So like you have to study it. Like this is not a run and gun game. You can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna do this really quickly unless you know every enemy's path. So I appreciated it a little bit where I had to like sit back and be like, oh, I need to look at them and see what they're doing.
Yeah, and like I was saying though, sometimes like the enemies are dumb, and then sometimes they'll be really smart and they'll catch you, or they'll catch you anyway, but it doesn't look like you should have got caught. That can happen a lot too. And it's like when you design an entire gameplay segment around the stealth, and it's an extended one. We're not talking like 10 or 15 minutes. Like this shit's like an hour or so long.
Mm-hmm.
It really kind of shows the weaknesses of the mechanic. And
I didn't like her from the beginning of the game. So like when I had to play her, I was like, because I knew it was gonna happen. I was gonna have to like guide my way through all the enemies.
yeah, she's honestly kind of like the most flat character in the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't really care too much about her either, and it's mostly because she just doesn't have a lot of personality, and it's like the character you can do the least amount of stuff with. So it's just I don't know. She had some kind of trauma, and that's why she's like kind of monotone and shit. Whatever, I get it, but like still, it's like Sherry Birkin had more personality than her.
Yes.
Like even in the original Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, the remake was a little bit of an upgrade in voice acting, but they were pretty much the same in my opinion.
Yeah. So one DLC is good, and one of them is not.
Yeah.
I couldn't even finish it. It pissed me off so much. Full disclosure.
I finished it both on the first time and also the this time because I don't know. I'm very into stealth games a lot. I'm Splinter Cell and Metal Gear are my favorite stealth franchises and stuff. So
I
like,
am too, but I actually want to try to do well in those games. I don't want to do well in this DLC because it's not engaging, and I don't fucking care about any of it.
yeah.
So,
Um, I guess we could get into some bonus modes and unlockables, unless there's anything else you want to talk about story wise or character wise.
not really. I don't think there's anything else, and we kind of already touched on the journals and diaries. There's not really like anything real incredible there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no. All there is like there's bonus costumes you can like unlock, which is cool because games don't really do that anymore. They always make you pay for them.
Yeah, I degenerized Claire and Moria. They had skirts. I put skirts on them.
Oh, the ninja outfit and the cowgirl Claire.
Yeah.
And then Barry has the commandant. I don't know what the fuck that's about. Like that's all cool. You could unlock classic costumes for Barry and Claire too, where it's like her Resident Evil 2 appearance and Barry when he's in RE1.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's raid mode, which isn't an unlockable. You have to play through more of the story to unlock more stuff to do in raid mode. So I guess there is kind of an unlockable aspect to it.
Yeah, the PC raid mode worked and it was fun. I would actually say I like this raid mode better than the other raid mode that we got.
It's a lot more improved. It's more streamlined, and it feels like I can just. It's just fun to play because you can just jump into like a level and just like kill some shit and spend like 5 to 15, not even that. Like really, it's like you can do 5 to 10 minutes of like a quick action burst,
And you
without any of the bullshit and just have fun.
Yeah, you get to choose locations like Tall Oaks and Adonia from Resident Evil 6 in there as well, which is interesting. I would have liked to have other locations that would have been, pretty cool.
There's even like I guess it's Tall Oaks. I for some reason I thought it was Raccoon City. I forgot it was Tall Oaks for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like various locations from like the last couple of games or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool. And yeah, this Estonia, whatever the fuck it is, and there's all kinds of characters you can unlock too. And that includes characters from like RE6 and RE5 and the first Revelations game.
Yeah, I'll get you the raid mode characters. Hold on. We have Albert Wesker. You have Hunk, Jill Valentine, Leon S. Kennedy, Chris Redfield, and I believe that's it. And I think maybe Cypher and Red Queen Alpha. I think.
No, there's also Gina Foley, Rachel Foley,
Yeah.
Lady Hunk, the Pedro and the other dude, Neil, if you want to play as Neil. And, of course, you got the main characters, and there's also Alex Wesker, who takes the longest to unlock. So I'm kind of hoping she's a boss ass bitch when you unlock her. She better do something cool. Yeah, raid mode's a lot of fun. It's a big part of like it helps make this game like better for me than what it really would be on its own.
I think what's great in some Resident Evil games, like they'll like throw in these like online things to do or like side missions to do, and either they're a hit or a miss. But usually when they do something like raid mode or mercenary mode, like it slaps for some strange reason.
I really hope in RE4 remake that they'll actually put in mercenaries mode.
Mm-hmm.
And what would really put it over the top though is where it's like an RE engine or something. It would be if they could do something like this raid mode with that.
Yeah.
Where you could have like locations from like Resident Evil 2 remake, RE3, and I guess you could even do RE7 in Village if you wanted.
Yeah.
And include characters like through all those games. Like you get Leon or you get Claire or from RE2 or Jill. Carlos. Um, oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? Ethan. That's it. I was like, what the guy from the 7 and 8? No, I couldn't spit it out. Ethan.
Ethan Winters.
Ethan Winters. But man, that would be fucking cool.
When is the side note? When is the Resident Evil Village third person and the new DLC coming out?
I think it's late October. I want to say it's like October 24th or something. It's like the day after my birthday.
Yeah, a little side note. I don't know how I feel about the whole Rosemary thing.
We'll see. I'm open to checking it out because the whole thing with her at the end of the game left a big question mark about like, oh, what's about to happen here? Are we going to get a game with like her later or something? So like it's going to answer some of the questions people had. So let's see what the answer is.
True.
But I proposed us returning to do RE8 when all that stuff drops. Because we did do RE8 before, but we kind of like botched our attempt.
Yeah, we botched our audio.
Yeah, we kind of fucked it up, and but we're gonna do a mulligan, a redo, and we'll be able to cover all this new content and stuff.
Yeah, I wonder how third person's gonna feel in Village.
I don't know. That's exciting too, to be able to like experience it from a different perspective. Looking forward to it, but I guess what else is left? Is there
personal stories? Did you have any personal stories about this game?
I played it a little bit with my sister, and that was kind of fun because it was also frustrating because she played the hell out of this game when it came out. I only played through it once, and I think it was because she, her words were like, she really liked Code Veronica a lot. Claire's like one of her favorite characters in the series. And it was like, oh, finally she's in another game. It'd been since Code Veronica since she was in one, really. And I think she did like co-op with a bunch of her friends all the time too, or something. But like, it was funny because she like super autistically beat the snot out of that game and did everything. And I didn't. I just played it once and was like, yeah, it was good. I never played it again. Like that was when it was brand new. That was the last time I played it. And she was like, man, this sucks. That sucks. It's like she was just talking about all the same things that bugged me about this game and like the bullshit insta-kill enemies and everything.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fun to like have somebody to bounce that kind of stuff off of, like as I was playing it again.
No personal stories with me. I kind of just played it and I was like, that was a Resident Evil game, and then just moved on.
You could maybe say that sums up this whole thing.
Yeah.
Perhaps that was the most important part. It's a Resident Evil game.
I just remember like it coming out because I was like, Revelations. That was like weird to me. Like I was in a phase, like how you're in a phase when you're like a goth person in high school or whatever, going through that phase.
You were a goth Resident Evil fan?
Yeah, like I was like in the mode like after Resident Evil 4, because Resident Evil 4 was a good action game, but then like 5, 6, and then like it went downhill from there, and I was like, man, this is not the same Resident Evil that I liked, and I just played it because I have to see everything through.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. You ready for some lightning round?
We're getting the lightning round. Here we go.
All right. Who do you prefer to play as?
Natalia, no. No, I guess Barry, because man, you talk about like it's been such a long time since Claire's in a game. Fucking Barry didn't show up in anything past like the first Resident Evil game, and he wasn't even a playable character in it. So it was like kind of cool to be able to play as Barry for once, and he's got that awesome dad humor. He has dad jokes.
You're a fucking burden.
You're a fuck. He says other like really cheesy shit. Like I don't know. Like he has his Barry-isms, his lines. Like I said, that perhaps that was the most important part. He says some corny shit sometimes. It's great. But they have like a way better voice actor to play him. I don't know the guy's name, but he's in a lot of anime and stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's very recognizable, but I just don't know his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with you. I liked Barry because of his humor, and because of the same reason, because I want to play him in a fucking video game. And Capcom, if you're listening, I want a Barry Burton video game. Do it.
They gave us one. It was called Resident Evil Gaiden.
No, I want a real one.
That is a real one.
I want a real one.
real one.
Yeah.
What is your favorite boss?
Neil Bane.
Neil. It's fucking Neil.
Yeah.
How else can you laugh? You can find the boss hilarious and then beat it. It's just
that's why I said that's why I said when like Alex Wesker came, I'm like, oh, okay, that's a battle. But like when
she does turn into like a pretty creepy looking weird monster though. It's like her proportions are all fucked up and it's like she turns into like a spider person.
Yeah, I kept on thinking of you ever see the movie Lost in Space, the remake that they did back in like the year 2000 and shit?
Yeah, I remember that movie.
And you remember when the doctor like got bitten by like all those spiders and shit and like turned into like a big ass spider man or whatever? Not Spider-Man the Marvel character, but like Spider person or whatever.
It's like that time Spider-Man turned into a Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what it reminded me of. I was like, oh, that's cool, but like I had fun fighting Neil.
Yeah. So Neil it is. What's your favorite part of this game?
It's actually the DLC. Like I said, spoiler, the Evgeny and Moria area I digged a lot.
Yeah, something to touch on that real quick. I forgot to mention was there's like this mechanic where you have to find food, and you get like rabbits or other things or even spiders, which is like sounds gross, but yeah, you could eat spiders, I guess.
You gotta eat the bugs.
You gotta eat the bugs to survive. But like, you get like a stock of lives, kind of based on how much food you find, and that's kind of an interesting mechanic in that.
Yeah, it's a little survival type of gameplay in there, which I digged.
It's like a mix of arcade and that. I really like that DLC too. I also really like the raid mode, and I like the good ending of the game you get to play out.
Yes.
All the cool moments there.
Favorite weapons?
Barry's Magnum, Python Magnum. Like that thing's fucking awesome. I like the. I'm a bit of a gun nerd, and I like that Claire has like a Makarov. That's cool. That's like one of my foreign pistols I'd like to own, but don't have it yet. The Dragunov's cool. The sniper rifle she has when you play the good ending out.
Yeah.
I guess it's like those between those three.
Yeah, I liked Barry's bolt action rifle that he has, and his Python Magnum. And I don't know what it is. I've always had a boner for Uzis. So Claire's Uzi that she had.
Uzi boner.
Yeah, Uzi boner. Hashtag Uzi boner. Let's make that trending.
Shout out to the brick because it's really funny sometimes. Like when you just grab a brick and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And it's like really quiet and nothing's going on. And you just throw a brick at an enemy.
Yeah.
Something about that's just like funny. Best rank, which it actually you get ranked for every episode you complete and you get a final ranking.
Yeah, I got an A.
I think I got like a C.
Yeah.
But I was playing hard mode. So
I played medium, but I like at certain times where I did bad, I like replayed it and got an A.
I think I got a B or an A in the original playthrough I did. It had all my old data from last time. It is what it is.
All right. So we're near the end of the episode where we do final countdown. where we rearrange our list right now. We have 1 through 18. I'm pretty sure it's going to grow soon because we have we call the Resident Evil 4 remake coming out, and I think that needs to be added. I think it's going to be added to 19, I guess. Uh, but I'll go first. I don't know if I did this last episode, but I remember I had Village at number 1. I changed that because I don't know. Maybe I was on the high of not playing a Resident Evil game in a while, and I was actually having fun playing the game. But then when I look back at the story, I don't think it deserves the number 1 spot. But I'll go from 18 to all the way to 1. 18 is blank at the moment. 17 is Resident Evil 6. 16 is Resident Evil 5. At number 15, I have Resident Evil Revelations 2. At number 14, I have Resident Evil Revelations 1. At 13, I have Resident Evil Dead Aim. At number 12, I have Resident Evil Survivor. At 11, Resident Evil 4. At 10, Resident Evil 0. 9, Resident Evil Village. That's where I moved it to number 9. So it went from 1 to 9.
You did some reflecting on that.
Yeah. At number 8, I have Resident Evil Code Veronica. At number 7, I have Resident Evil 3 Remake. At number 6, I have Resident Evil 1 Remastered. Number 5, I have Resident Evil 1. Number 4, I have Resident Evil 2 1998. At number 3, I have Resident Evil 2 Remake. At number 2, I have blank at the moment. And at number 1, Resident Evil 3.
We all know it's going to go into number 2. Resident Evil Gaiden.
Oh, God, no.
Okay, my list hasn't changed at all, really, but I got a couple weird blank spots later. I guess I need to add the 19 spot for RE4 like you did.
Yeah, I didn't do that yet. So,
but 18 is Resident Evil 6. I'm just going to go ahead and put it at the bottom now because that's where it's going to be. I can't anticipate me playing any other game and disliking it as much. 16 is Resident Evil Dead Aim. And then 14 is Resident Evil 0. 13 is Survivor. And then 12 is RE Revelations 2 above Survivor. Below Resident Evil 5 at 11. And Revelations 1 is above 5 at 10. Code Veronica is 9. Resident Evil 8 Village is 8. RE3 Remake is 7. RE1 6. RE3 is 5. RE4 is 4. Resident Evil 2 Remake is 3. RE2 Original is 2. And Resident Evil Remake is number 1.
All right. Well, that is our final countdown. What do we have? What are we looking forward to next as far as the Nemesis project? Are we tackling 7 first, or are we doing the redo of Village in October?
I feel like we've wanted to play Resident Evil 7. Like we've been looking forward to doing that one again. So we could tentatively say we're going to go for 7.
And then 8 again.
And then 8 again. Now, whichever one, I feel like we'll probably be able to get to 7 and actually put it out before 8 redrops. Because remember, that's going to come out in late October. So
yeah,
we might not even really be able to get to it until November.
Yeah, I'm going to play it in August. So
yeah, I guess I might start it sooner. I don't know. It depends on what I end up getting into through the month. Because I haven't played it since it came out.
I haven't played any of the DLC, so I can't wait to play it.
Too. I got to play the DLC as well.
But I think that's the plan, guys. We're going to do Resident Evil 7 next with all the DLC. So that means Gold Edition if you haven't played the game yet and you're watching this or listening to this. But if you want to catch more of the Nemesis project, make sure you go on all podcasting services like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you do Alexa, you have that too. And then also if you want to catch our other podcasts that we do, we're going to be doing a Metal Gear podcast. I forgot the name we were doing again with Metal Gear.
The podcast to end all Metal Gears or something.
Yeah, so we're going to be going through all the Metal Gear games. I don't know if we're going to be diving into, PSP Portable and all that stuff. So I think we're hitting the main story one. But we also have the wrestling podcast, which we just did our latest episode, Getting Some Color, where we did WCW Saturday night and WWF Raw. We're at the end of July. We have one more date in July in 1993, so we can end out that month. And then we also have the Big Trouble podcast, where we are doing the Lord of the Rings. Tuesday, we're going to be doing Lord of the Rings, A Fellowship of the Ring. So keep an eye out for that. But until next time, everybody, we will see you in Resident Evil 7 on the Nemesis Project. Peace out.
You too are a fucking Burton.